The Photography Online podcast in partnership with Kingjoy Tripods.
Coming up in our June podcast, we discuss the artist who's caused outrage by colourising one of Ansel Adams' famous images, why Sabrina Carpenter turned up to the Met Gala wearing nothing but film strips, and why India's tiger reserves have banned smartphones. We look at the exhibit where visitors are encouraged to smash old cameras, Canon's surprisingly useful new lens cap, and Kodak bringing large format film back from the dead.
And now, please welcome your panellists. A man who thought Man Ray was something you found in an aquarium. It's James McCormick.
I am a slippery character.
And a man with the perfect face for podcasting. It's Marcus McAdam.
You'll be hearing my best side today.
And here to keep them both in check, the lady who is always hyper-focused. It's Ruth Taylor.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. And I must say, apologies for everyone that commented on last month's podcast when I introduced it as April.
I didn't even notice that, Ruth.
I didn't notice either, and I had written down, the right thing written down, but it was immediately after my epic introduction. And so I blame
So
that.
what month are we doing now then, Ruth?
This is going to be June, James.
And what happens in June, Ruth, on June the 4th?
I got divorced.
I got married, and it's my birthday.
I remembered your birthday. Do you know, I was just thinking this morning, I keep a birthday book because I just can't handle it otherwise. And I thought, June, I didn't look at it. I thought, there's nobody in June, or there's nobody important that I can think of.
Tattoo.
Then I thought,
It's got to be a tattoo.
Hang on, it's James is in there. So James is the June baby. But anyway, welcome to the June podcast. Got our usual great stuff coming up today. Got a look at the news stories. It has been a wee while since the last podcast. It's a slightly longer month than usual through May, so it feels like a long time since we've been with you. But we've got a good few news stories for you. Going to have our usual look at some gear as well, some stuff. There's been a lot of interesting things coming out. I mean, I say interesting. There's been some kind of what we call important, kind of normal gear items, but then some very random ones as well. And we do like those. We're mixing them into. And of course, the pop quiz, I have got the aggregate totals. I don't know if you guys can remember. So at the moment, you guys are 4-1. I don't know if you can see that. 4-1 is the scores.
Am I the 4?
Unfortunately, you are not.
Oh,
you are the 1. But like I said last month, we were only halfway through the year, so you can still do it. You can still catch up. But
Yeah, well, I am the kind of guy that likes a late comeback.
So you've said. So we'll see how that plays out. But we'll start off with our first news story, which, Marcus, is right up your street and has been kicking up quite a lot of reaction and consternation and all the rest of it since it kind of came out slowly, the story. There was a few statements and then other people kind of got a hold of it. So explain to me what's causing all the fuss.
Yeah, so we're going to have a moan about AI again, I'm afraid, Ruth. This time, someone thought it would be a good idea to get AI to generate a colour version of Ansel Adams' most famous photograph, Moonrise over Hernandez. Now, the horrendous result, in my opinion, appeared at a gallery in New York with the title, AI generated from the prompt, make a realistic colour version of Ansel Adams' iconic Moonrise over Hernandez. So they were very upfront with what had happened here. However, presumably we're going to have a link to this so that people can see the photo, because I think it's quite important to actually see what we're talking about here. James, have you had a look at this?
I'm having a look.
Right, okay.
Right now.
How realistic would you say that is?
I think your giggling answers the question.
There's a huge amount of things I'm going to talk about after you finish your own spiel, Marcus. Go for it.
Okay. So the Ansel Adams Publishing Rights Trust has understandably got quite upset about this, adding that they did not authorise, endorse, consent or acquiesce, there's a good word, to work exhibited or offered for sale, and claim that the piece, I like the way they refer to it as a piece and not a photo or even an image. It's just a piece. Exploited Ansel's name, reputation and his most iconic image while failing to identify any human artist responsible for its creation. Now, they went on to add that they were not notified of the piece prior to the exhibition, and once they were alerted to it, the request to have it immediately removed was ignored. Now, the founder of the gallery in question here is a guy under the name of James Danziger. Never trusted James. He released a
Or a Danzinger.
Yeah, or a Danzinger, yeah. He released a statement on the gallery's website saying that his interest in doing this was based on his love of the iconic image. He says, my interest in seeing how AI could be used to create an imagining of what Adams saw in real life as he took this photo. He also suggested that Adams would have approved his alteration of the image. Now, there's been a backlash from several prominent photographers, including very close friends of Ansel Adams, saying that he would have hated this rip-off. So I think we can judge the reaction of friends of Ansel Adams rather than someone who didn't know him at all. In a latest statement, though, this is an update that's just come in today as we're recording the podcast, James Danzinger has said not only was the piece an AI creation, but also required, and I quote, intensive human intervention, editing, proofing and refinement over many months. Now, there's a waste of time, effort and everything else that went involved, because seriously, if I'd taken that photo on my phone, I would have just deleted it. It's horrendous.
It is not horrendous.
It is horrendous. It should be called Moonrise over horrendous.
Excellent. This is the bit, listeners, where I can sit back and watch.
This is would you have said that when Ansel Adams put out his extraordinarily edited version of this? Because he himself was saying it started off looking kind of natural, and then he was editing it so much in the darkroom, burning and dodging and making the sky darker, darker, darker. And then he himself apparently said that he looks forward to seeing what can be done with it in the future electronically with colour. And that is what this guy is saying. He's saying this is it's a public domain. He said he checked very specifically, as much as he could. He checked that he was assured it was public domain. So he's in the right there. B, it's art as well, so it's completely subjective. You saying it's horrendous. Correct. I mean, the original image itself, I am not a big fan of. I quite like this as a rendition of it's probably kind of thing Ansel Adams would have done in colour if he could have. He's obviously a fan of heavily editing things, and he's when the guy released this statement, he's actually finished by quoting Ansel himself saying that he's looked forward to seeing what in the future it could become, and he knew that wouldn't be in his own lifetime. So I understand the fuss, but I'm kind of on the artist side for once, and I'm not a fan of AI in general, but reading what he said and his response to it, I'm on his side, I reckon. I just don't see what's achieved by it, because it's not a real image to start with. And nor was Ansel's final edit. Well, no, but it started out as a real photo. So I'm not saying, we're not talking about editing here, Ruth, because we all know that Ansel Adams used to heavily edit his photos. I mean, he wrote books on it. So he wasn't trying to hide the fact. And if you ask me, and here's a statement for you, I don't actually think Ansel Adams was the best photographer. I think he was an amazing technician. A phenomenal technician who, wrote techniques that are still practiced today. But if you look at his photos, a lot of them are pretty kind of average, but it's very difficult to compare what was taken back then with what is taken now, because it's two different eras, and different things were possible, etc. But I've never really been a fan of his photography work, but I'm a great admirer of his techniques. Okay, James, any opinions on this?
Well, it's very nice to hear a debate between you two squabbling about it. I have to say, I'm slightly my heart is with Marcus, not in that way, just to clarify.
Never thought you'd ever say.
But my head is with you.
We've got a clean edit on that. We can use it.
That's true. But my head is with you because you put up a very compelling argument. And I think the truth, as ever with these things, is probably somewhere between the two. So that's me being a Liberal Democrat for those that are listening in the UK. So in other words, my opinion is completely meaningless. So it's a waste of time. That's my view on it. Yeah. But wasting of time often leads to creativity in the future. Wasting of many months, in fact. Well, James. That was the line that stood out, actually. He spent many months. What was he doing for many months doing this? Because it is a load of... and it was more than one person. That's the thing. It was a team of people. It's a load of rubbish, but by the same token, so what? It doesn't matter. It's up to him what he does. And I think there's a lot of... and the only reason that the Ansel... I can't remember what you said it was now. The Ansel Adams Federation or whatever it is, or the people that... The Publishing Rights Trust. The people who after his rights, the only reason there's making a fuss at all is for revenue generation, which is fair enough. And the only reason this guy's done this picture at all anyway is to create publicity. So both people will win in the end.
I think it's also to do with reputation, though, James, because imagine if someone had ripped off one of your famous photos and the result was less than pleasing, then surely you would be a little bit miffed that your reputation had been damaged.
I don't think it would bother me one bit.
The thing is, everybody would know it wasn't James. Everybody would know this is just an artist who's been so inspired by James's excellence that they want to, play with it. Like, it's like people writing, what do you call it, fan fiction and stuff like that. People know it's not written by the original author.
Yeah. And also, if it had been mine, I probably would have shot it in colour and they would have turned it black and white because it would have been a load of rubbish. So the process would have been reversed.
But for this James Danziger to say that he wanted to create what Ansel Adams would have seen, as he took that photo, is absolute nonsense, because that is not what he would have seen. That is so far from reality, it's ridiculous.
But see, when he wrote that, I actually thought, and because he was talking about this is what there would have been a scene that caused Ansel Adams to get out of his car, scramble for his kit, and have a look at it. And although yes, it's heavily edited in Ansel Adams style, but colour, to me it made me go, that is the kind of that's the scene. It's easier to visualise what drew Ansel's eye initially.
Why, Marcus? Why do you think he chose this scene, Mr. Danziger, to recreate in colour? Why not choose a different Ansel Adams picture? There are better ones.
There are better ones, but I would say that that's probably the most iconic photos. If you ask people,
just the most famous, but not but it's also not the. I suppose you've got the sky in it, so that it adds to the colour element of it, I guess. Yeah. But I would have done a different picture if I was going to do this process personally.
The most interesting story about that photo is from Ansel himself, because when he was this is in one of his books, he was driving along and he saw the scene kind of appearing off to the side. And so he stopped his car and he was trying to set up, and obviously it's a 8x10 camera, so it takes a while. And he couldn't find his light meter. He knew it was in the car somewhere, but he couldn't find it. And he knew that he had to get the shot in the bag. And so he just used his knowledge to look at the scene and make the exposure. And he knew how many foot candles illumination the moon was, and that's what he based his exposure on. So he put that as on zone 8, and then worked out. And that's what I love about Ansel Adams is that aspect of it, not the fact that he's composed it how he did and everything else. Which I agree with you, James. It's not the best image that's ever been taken.
It looks like the kind of picture for, go and have a look at it, listeners, but it's the sort of picture you would take whilst changing your tyre. You just turn around and go, well, I've snapped that.
Yeah, exactly. And then possibly delete it at the end of the day when you're flicking through your photos.
All right, well, you guys can have a look if you think you might have an opinion on this as well. It has caused a lot of consternation in most quarters of the photography world. And thank you also to Peter and Morag for sending emails about this as well. It's been all over the photography news website, so have a wee look at that. Okay, we're going to move on to story number 2, James, which is something I never thought I would actually get to look at or talk about, certainly, but tell us all about what has happened here.
Or, more to the point, hear me talk about, I think is what you're going to say, but that's true. So this is all about Sabrina Carpenter. I've no idea who she is either, listeners. But anyway, I have looked her up.
I know who she is because I've got a 14-year-old daughter.
Teenage daughter, yeah, that's right. She's a pop sensation, I think is the term. And the Met Gala, something else that I'm not overly au fait with, being a t-shirts and jeans kind of guy, really. But Sabrina Carpenter went along to the Met Gala, and the Met Gala, as most people will actually know, is there to raise funds as a big fashion event and dinner that's held every year. And the principle is that they have a theme every single year, and celebrities go along, stand on the red carpet and do their thing in front of the cameras. And this year's theme, Ruth, was Fashion is Art. And Miss Carpenter went along dressed in, I don't really know what kind of dress you would call that. Do you know, actually, Ruth? You can see the picture, I presume. The style of dress, the cut.
I think beyond the style and the cut is the material.
Yeah, so that's what the story's all about. Really makes it a photographic story. Is the material is made of film strips, and the film itself is from the original looking at my notes, wherever it is, 1950 something film starring Billy Wilder of Sabrina. The dress is woven together I guess. I don't actually know whether it's melted or
Staples.
stitched or whatever. Staples. And the whole dress is made of the film strips.
It's literally film strips. It's fascinating.
Yeah, film strips from the original Sabrina film. And it looks kind of cool.
It actually
really,
does, yeah.
It reminds me a little bit of the Katy Perry dress, where she wore nothing but a dress made of meat, which, even though I'm a photographer, I'd probably rather go for the meat dress than the film dress.
Wasn't that Lady Gaga?
Oh, yeah, maybe it was. Who did I say, Katy? They're all the same. But it's kind of cool. I mean, where do you take the story from there? The only place to take it, really, is to think that if I was to wear a garment made of it, I would struggle to get a garment made of 35mm film, really. It would have to be medium format for me, I think.
James, if you were to wear something like that, and it was your own film that you were using, I think you would be arrested for indecent exposure. Well, hey!
Very good. I certainly would if it was 35mm film that it was made of.
I mean, my thought was it actually looked amazing, and all the photographers were yelling at her wanting to get the picture. But, I mean, when they go into the Met Gala, never having attended, do they have to sit at all? It looks extraordinarily sweaty. I don't know. I'm sure she was wearing something else underneath
Well, it has got the perforations.
You're ever the practical.
It has got the perforations in it, Ruth.
Oh, that's true. Perforations. Let's have a breeze in there.
Well, I believe translucent is in this season.
Oh, yeah.
All things translucent. I believe sheer, I think, is another word.
How do you know these
So anyway,
things?
it's worth a look. The dress is quite something, and I believe it was made by Christian Dior, I think, the House of Dior, anyway. So, other than that, Ruth, if you're asking me to talk about the world of Met Gala and fashion, I'm kind of out.
No, that's quite all right. So I was thinking, this could be a merch opportunity, Marcus. I mean, it wouldn't be from us because it's obviously the film side of things. So if you got any old reject film,
we could do some underpants.
Yeah, maybe let's start off with a tie or something. Do you know what? I think it would probably work quite well as a tie.
I had a film tie.
Oh, look, your voice has just gone up 2 octaves there, James. I had a film tie.
I know, that's because I remembered something, which is very unusual for me to actually remember something from the past.
Made of film, was it?
Is. Yeah, it was. Yes,
wow.
It was. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It was made. It was handmade, and it was made of medium format film and glued several layers of medium format film together and then cut it into the shape of a tie.
Okay, amazing. I expect to see that on the next podcast.
I have no idea where it was. I haven't seen it for approximately 30 years.
I'm sure you wouldn't have chucked it out. It'll be somewhere in there. Story number 3, Marcus. What's this all about?
Yeah, so this is all on a theme which we've touched on a couple of times before on previous shows, all about so-called wildlife photographers interfering with their subjects. This time it's the tigers of India who are being followed and chased by tourists eager to get a photo for their social media page, as though we need that. To tackle the issue, India's Supreme Court are banning the use of mobile phones inside several tiger reserves. This ruling was made after many years of concern about rising bad behaviour, but the tipping point was a video which was uploaded earlier this year showing a tiger boxed in by jeeps crowding around with shouting tourists, and the tiger was visibly stressed. Now, park guides are under pressure to deliver sightings for their paying customers, and they communicate with each other when a sighting is made, and then they all rush to the area. And once a specific watering hole becomes associated with a viral online image, all the guides tend to converge on that location so their customers can recreate the shot. I don't know why that's important, but it's the usual story of nobody really cares about the welfare of animals because social media is far more important. Now, dedicated cameras are still allowed in these reserves, so it's only phones that are being banned, as the main problem has been linked to people trying to get close-up selfies on their phones with a tiger in the background rather than a photographer with a long lens shooting from a distance.
So the answer is to give someone a 600mm lens because you can't possibly get a selfie with that.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But an article on Petapixel raises the question, has the pursuit of wildlife content begun to overshadow the experience itself? Debate. What do you think, James?
For me personally, most photography, when you take away trying to earn a living at it, so as Marcus was talking about Ansel Adams, he was very much about the process, but it's about the experience and an individual's experience, and the subject matter often becomes obsolete to somebody unless you're trying to sell your imagery. So if by interfering with wildlife, in this instance, to gain your own personal satisfaction, then go and do something else. So I had a little bit of a rant before, didn't I, about people chasing barn owls around. I think it was barn owls I was talking about, whatever. I mean, this is a very similar principle, and I still read, varying blogs and stuff where people are saying, but, I'm super careful. I stay X meters away and I've got my hide, and you're still interfering with the animal. The animal knows you're there and you are interfering with it. So it's to the degree that interference is acceptable, and I guess that's to each individual to decide. But in this instance, the government's had to step in because people, as ever, are being slightly too stupid about it.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's about the experience rather than the actual pictures. So,
but I'm not a great fan of going off and getting wildlife photos. But when I see photos on social media of lions in Africa all around a kill at night time, and they're being surrounded by jeeps that are floodlighting them with their headlights and stuff, and you just think, come on, guys, why? Just go to a zoo.
Well, as you well know, I mean, that's absolutely what we do not do when we take people to Zimbabwe. So we get them on foot and
make sure they're fast runners.
And make sure people can run quickly, yeah.
So can you run 100 metres in less than 10 seconds? OK, you're in.
I will tell you for sure that 99 out of 100 people that take, say, a picture of an elephant, take it, say, on a distance on foot, will remember that picture and that experience more than a close-up from a car. Absolutely, there's no question about that. No question. So it's the experience as much as the actual final image.
So, Marcus, do you know how they're going to actually implement this? Because saying banning mobile phones...
Banning phones, so they're not... If you go on a safari in one of these reserves, they're providing security lockers, and you have to leave your phone in
the... Oh, really?
Yeah, you have to
take it off you?
Yeah, you have to leave your phone in the security locker.
It's like badly behaved school pupils. We've had to provide lockers because you can't stay off them.
But you got to realise, Ruth, that what is the purpose of having a selfie of you with a tiger in the background? I mean, you're not going to frame it and put it on your wall, are you? It's purely for social media. It's just bragging, just saying, hey, everybody, look, I was close to a tiger. And people just scroll past it, and as a result, animals are being, harassed and stressed out just so that people can look at bad photos on social media.
I mean, but that's indicative of, as we've said, at the risk of making ourselves sound old. But it's just what everyone's doing these days. If you go somewhere and you don't document it, it's like the whole tree falling in a forest thing.
Everyone, Ruth.
Everyone. It's this just feeling like if I don't document it, people wouldn't know what happened, or I wouldn't know what happened. It needs to be some sort of... You can't just look at it and remember. There's got to be documentation of it, and it's almost like an addiction. So it'll be fascinating to see. Actually, this is across. It's India wide. You said.
It just says India, so you just assume that because it's a ruling by the Supreme Court, you would have thought it was nationwide. Yeah.
Okay, fascinating. Well, show notes, check it out for yourself if you want to read about that. If you've got a safari coming up, tigers or something like that going on in India, make sure that you're aware of what's happening there. Okay, final story. This is a good one. Who have I got for this? Is it Marcus or James?
James.
Right, James. If you feel the need to take out your rage, there is something very interesting that, again, is causing a lot of kickback from photographers. So what's it all about?
Well, according to Petapixel, photographers are livid, absolutely spitting livid about a photo festival's camera-busting rage room.
Ooh. A rage room? I like the sound of a rage room.
I had to take a deep breath there. So to get that out in one go. So initially I thought, when I was looking at this story and stumbled across it, I thought it's a bit like back in, I think it was the 80s and 90s, you could go to California and you could go to like an old wrecking yard for cars, and for sort of $50 they'd give you a sledgehammer and a car. And you could go, that Marcus McAdam, I can't stand him, and swing sledgehammer at the windows and the mirrors, and you could swear and rage and do the whole thing, and they'd even video it for you if you wanted as well, and then give you a tape so you could go away with that. So I thought that's what this was all about. I thought it was just purely a room where you can go and smash up cameras. But it's a little bit more nuanced than that. So in Belfast, at the photo festival in Belfast in Northern Ireland, there's an exhibition that's been put on where you can indeed go and smash up a camera with a hammer if you want to. But you can also go and gently take a camera apart. which I presume is small fiddly screwdrivers, if you wish.
That doesn't really solve the frustration so much, though, does it?
That doesn't solve the frustration thing. No, it does not. And speaking of the frustration thing, you can also put them back together again. The one I'm presuming that you've disassembled with your small fiddly screwdriver.
Maybe it's a
one you've done with your
psychological thing of I don't like this person. I'm going to slowly take it apart, but then put it back together.
No, we need to move. But we need to move away from that. You see, it's not about other people. It's about photography. So it's about reconnecting with photography and reconnecting with the physical cameras
with a hammer.
With a hammer or a small screwdriver, and then re-putting the camera back together and potentially even using it.
So if you use the hammer, James, if you go for the hammer...
You would struggle to put it together with a hammer, yeah. I knew you would go for the hammer.
No, but I was just going to say, if you go for the hammer option, do they give you a little tube of super glue to put it back together?
No, I don't think so. I think that is purely just you are consigning that camera to the dustbin as an otter did to you once upon a time with your particular camera. Or you did to me by throwing a camera at me once. I can clearly remember. I think it was on one of the shows, actually.
Yeah, that didn't...
Although I think I might have then reversed over one of your cameras. But anyway.
That didn't go down well on my insurance claim when you have to describe what happened to the camera, and I said an otter knocked it over. It just smacks of kind of like fraudulent behaviour there.
And the funny thing about that was, because you told me about that, didn't you? And then the following day, the wind blew over my very expensive 17mm tilt shift lens, and that smashed. And a bloke in a high-vis jacket picked up the front element and just walked towards me and went, "Oh!" and gave it back. But anyway, back to the story. This particular story, I think. This festival, photography festival in Belfast, I think, have a look at the show notes, go along, have a look, because there are all sorts of other rooms and exhibition spaces with other photographers going on there. And it is an interesting concept. Obviously, it's a bit of a gimmick to get people in through the door, but that's fair enough. There's nothing wrong with that, I suppose.
So these cameras, James, sorry, I haven't read it. Are they, presumably they're not working cameras, they're just old cameras that can't be repaired?
It's a selection of old stuff, so you can go along and they will provide you with a stunt camera.
Yes, because when we started doing photography online, we had said stunt cameras that we used to toss over our shoulders and stuff, and we used to get a lot of feedback from it saying you shouldn't be treating cameras like that, and we had to explain
outraged of the home counties.
We had to explain
would drop
that they
were
line. Unrepairable anyway, so it wasn't actually anyone's loss. But
and then we had to explain what humour was. Do you remember?
But I think we're still struggling to explain that.
Yeah, just go and have a look. I mean, apart from anything else, it's a whole photo festival, and as I said, you can visit the Destroy room. I mean, who wouldn't pop in there?
Well, I quite like the quote from the CEO, Michael Weir. He said, "We want people to experience photography in new and unexpected ways through accessible free exhibitions across the city, whether it means gaining inspiration on your lunchtime or engaging with our new participatory installation," which is a very nice way of saying grab a hammer and smash a camera. But as James said, do check out the notes. It is really interesting. There has been a lot of kickback, consternation, all those words from various outraged photographers, so you can have a wee look for yourself, or go along. In fact, James, do you know when it is? June?
It starts on June the 4th.
June the 4th. Oh, well, there you go. James, would you like a trip for your birthday? Head over to Belfast.
Are you going to pay for me to go to Belfast?
That's probably cheaper than a lot of... If I get a ticket, Ryanair, for 40 quid or something.
If you do that, James, you've got to wear your Darth Vader outfit that you keep in your cupboard and get a sledgehammer.
Get the lightsaber out.
No, get a sledgehammer and just, before you smash the camera with a single blow, just go, "I am your father." And then...
Right, I think before we end this story, we should all choose one implement. Ruth, what would you go with?
What, to smash stuff?
Yeah, what would you smash the camera
Ruth
with?
would go for the chainsaw.
Oh, Ruth, she would, wouldn't she?
Or the wrecking ball.
While swinging astride, yeah. Marcus,
right,
what's yours?
I'd go for the hand drill.
Oh, would you?
Yeah.
Personally, felling axe. So, hammer one side, axe the other,
All right, well, show notes for that story and all the rest of them as well. We will leave the news there for now and move on.
The Photography Online Podcast, in partnership with King Joy Tripods.
Yes, as usual, a very big thank you to Kingjoy Tripods for supporting the podcast. Every month we are playing a clip of one of the team using a Kingjoy tripod somewhere in the world, and from the clues they provide, you can try and work out where they are and what they're taking a photo of. Now, last month we heard from Harry, who sent us a shot from the Okavango Delta in Africa. He was also suffering from malaria. I don't know how he is.
No,
was he recovered?
Wasn't. He was fine.
He was
fine. He just
had a cold.
He just had cold or too many beers.
Boy flu.
He is alive.
Good to know. Anyway, this month we're going to hear from Marcus.
Hello, Ruth. I've hiked up to what can only be described as one of the true wonders of the world. It's extremely iconic, so I can't give too many clues away, but what I will say is that what I'm standing on took over 2,000 years to complete. So we're talking about a fairly major construction project here. Now, the conditions I have today were initially met with a lack of inspiration, as the image I had in my mind required direct light. But I'm standing here in fairly thick fog, which comes and goes, hiding and revealing the amazing scenery before me. But now I'm here, these conditions are actually ideal for taking photos of this location, as they provide a wonderful atmosphere. Now, the amazing thing is that other than my companion and myself, we've been here for 4 hours so far and we've not seen a single person. So we're pretty remote. So let me tell you all about the tripod that I've chosen for today's shoot. As it's pretty tough to get here, weight was my primary concern. So I've gone for the trusty C83S travel tripod, which weighs less than 2 kilos, so you don't really notice it. It has a centre column, which usually I would remove, but it's perfectly calm here today, and it's useful to have the extra height, as most of the compositions here seem to have an annoying wall in the foreground. However, in the example of the photo that I'm about to shoot, I'm actually using the wall to my advantage by framing the distant view, which is looking pretty good right now. So let me grab this shot. Yeah, that looks great. Okay, I've actually given you far more clues than you probably realise, including saying the name of the place. So I think that's enough. Any ideas where I am?
Any ideas, James?
Well, I do, yes. Well, I might know this because he sent me a picture with a big, very unkind picture of the location with a circle on the pitch and said, you said you nearly died here. Do you remember this spot? With the usual compassion and sympathy that he shows to me.
That's what he's known for.
I did take the photo, Ruth, and I just sent it to James because he was lying down in that exact position, in that exact location, and said that he just wanted to die there and to leave him.
There's an awful lot of pictures of James floating around where he's just kind of lying down on location.
Not that I'm over dramatic in any way, Ruth.
Anyway, Marcus will be back later on in the show telling us where he is exactly. You can see the image he's taken as well by clicking on the link in the show notes. And if you want to know what's available in Kingjoy's professional lineup, do check out the Photography Online shop if you are in the UK, or head on over to kingjoy.com for international sales or to find out your nearest dealer. Alrighty, well, it is time for
the Photography Online podcast quiz.
Alright, chaps, are you ready for this? Let me just get my little spreadsheet, which is my little bit of ripped paper. Okay, it is the Photography Online podcast quiz where I ask James and Marcus photography related questions. You can play along, of course, as well at home, as the answers will not be revealed until the end. Here's how it works: 5 rounds, each one worth a point for the correct or closest answer sometimes. In the event of a tie, both of the chaps receive the point. Now, thus far, as I said at the beginning, James is pulling ahead, but it is not over yet. Marcus told us last month he is curating his underdog persona, so we're going to see if this is the month that he has his Hallmark movie moment. I'm not convinced, but he's ready with his Sharpie, so is James, and bits of paper, I think, as well. So let's start off with round 1.
Round 1, photography trivia.
Alright, chaps, fingers and pens ready. Here we go. Here's the question. Nikon is yellow, Leica is red, but which camera brand has green as its signature colour? Blank faces.
Has green.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, okay. I've got my answer.
Yeah, me too.
James, okay, that was fast. Alright, let's move on.
Round 2, multiple choice.
All right, well, in this round, I ask a question which is fairly difficult. So to help you out, there are 4 possible answers. All I need you to do is tell me which one you think is correct. Here's the question. In 2018, a prize-winning wildlife photo was disqualified after judges discovered that the anteater was actually what? A, a taxidermy animal. B, CGI. C, a zoo animal. Or D, sedated.
I think Marcus knows that because I do.
Okay.
No, I thought when you started reading that question, I thought it was going to be the one of the wolf, the tame wolf jumping over the fence, because that was a big story around the same time. But then when you went anteater, it threw me off a bit. So
maybe the wolf was jumping over to get at the anteater.
Yeah, okay. So can you just read out the second option again, Ruth, just to make sure I've got the right one that I wanted?
Second option B was CGI.
Oh, that's, yeah. Okay.
Do you want me to read through them again?
No, it's all right. I've got it now.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go. That was round 2. Let's move on to round 3.
Round 3. Name the year.
All right, in this round, the answer, obviously, is a year. The round goes to whoever gets the closest in this one, but if either of you gives me the exact year, you get a bonus point. Here we go. In which year was the first 35mm SLR introduced that featured an autofocus system?
Oh, have we not had this question before?
Well, I thought we had.
If so, then you'll know the answer.
That's
there was a similar question. Maybe it wasn't that. Oh, okay. I think I know who did it. I think I know which manufacturer did it. So
do you?
Yeah, See, the thing is
well, I know because you see, but was that because I was well, the thing is that I was an assistant in 88, 89, and I know he swapped from Nikon to Canon but that doesn't mean that was because you said the first year, right?
I did.
Obviously not. Yeah, not when I did it. The whole world doesn't revolve around me. I was forgetting that. I was thinking, when did you first use it? But yeah, that's slightly irrelevant. Right, so think of that and knock a bit off. All right.
And that's Jim's train of thought. Marcus, you got any ideas?
I think I know which manufacturer did it, but I don't know when it was.
Are you reaching for a half point here or something?
No, not at all.
I'm not sure I'm giving them
not at all.
Oi, back off on this harp point nonsense.
But generally speaking, Ruth, I always go too late. So I've knocked, like James has done, I've knocked a few years off of it because it's always earlier than you think.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on.
Round 4. Artificial intelligence.
Okay, in this round I asked ChatGPT to describe a photographic object, person or practice. Without mentioning the name of the subject, all I need you to do is tell me what did I ask it to talk about. And in this case, it is in fact a location. Are you guys both ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Photographers come here because it does the editing for you. Huge open spaces, repeating patterns, salt flats, dunes, ridgelines, all stripped back to shape and light. It's a place where minimalism thrives, and cameras don't. But its name didn't come from photography. It came from gold rush travelers who got trapped here and named it as they finally escaped.
Thank goodness for the last.
I had it from before that, and then when I heard that last bit, I was thinking, oh great, that's my advantage gone.
Yeah, I was crisscrossing that particular continent like a yo-yo until the end there.
I just love the way that James's train of thought is very audible in the noises that kind of come out of his mouth. All right, let's move into our final one.
Round 5. Take a wild guess.
All right, well, as the name suggests, this round requires an answer which could be almost anything, so you're unlikely to get it exact. You'll need to take a wild guess. As with round 2, the point goes to whoever gets closest to the answer, and if one of you does get the exact answer, there are 2 bonus points. Never yet happened, but let's give it a go this time. Here's the question. In the year 2000, Californian painter and decorator Rick Norsagian purchased a box of 65 undeveloped negatives at a garage sale that were later authenticated as the work of famed nature photographer Ansel Adams and possibly worth $200 million. How much did he pay for them?
Okay. What did he buy again? How many?
He bought a box of 65 undeveloped negatives.
Okay. Yeah. So these would have been large format.
Yes, they would have.
Yeah.
I bought those for Marcus the other day.
Yeah.
Just showing some little undeveloped film there.
Okay.
I better check they're not worth $200 million before I give them to him. Can you imagine how annoying that would be? From a local car boot sales, which is the equivalent of a garage sale or garage sale, isn't it, in the States? So this is either going to... Yeah, I don't know. There's no way of knowing, is there really, Ruth?
Well, I mean, if you're a big Ansel Adams fan, which I know both of you are, you might have read about it perhaps in the past. It was only 2000, only 26 years. That seems like a long time now, doesn't it? Only a quarter of a century ago. You both got an answer?
Yes.
Yes, James?
Yep.
All right.
Yes, I have, yes.
Okay, amazing. Right, well, let's go through them. Round 1 was photography trivia. I asked you which camera brand has green as its signature colour. James, what do you reckon?
I wrote down Fuji.
Okay.
I wrote down
Marcus?
Fujifilm. So if it's right, I think I deserve the point.
Okay, it is Fujifilm. I will take Fuji. I will take Fuji because I know Fuji is the larger brand. Fujifilm is technically what it is, but I'll give that to you both. As per their website, as our corporate colour, Fujifilm Advanced Green expresses advanced creativity and consideration for people and the environment, while reinforcing the image of the Fujifilm group. So there you go, that's why they chose green. So a point each for that, well done chaps. Round 2 was multiple choice. I asked you which prize-winning wildlife photo was disqualified after judges discovered, why was the winning photo disqualified? A, taxidermy animal, B, CGI, C, a zoo animal, or D, sedated. What was the anteater? Marcus, what do you reckon?
Well, I've gone for A in this scenario. I don't think it was CGI.
I can't remember what A was, but I've written taxidermy.
Yeah, that was A.
It was quite a dark picture from memory. I can remember seeing it.
You're both right again. Look at this. 2 for 2, both of you.
Yeah.
It was taxidermy. Judges launched an investigation after an anonymous tip claimed the anteater in the winning image was actually a stuffed display animal from the park entrance. A team of 5 scientists compared the photo with the taxidermy specimen and concluded the fur patterns and posture were too similar to be different animals. Photographer Marcio Cabral strongly denied the accusation, insisting the anteater was real, but the Natural History Museum still stripped him of the award and banned him from future competitions.
Stripped and banned.
Stripped and banned. Not what you like to hear. And I did actually have a look at the image, and the one that he denies it was taken off, and they're identical. So
still to this day, he's still denying it, right?
I mean, possibly. I haven't checked in with him, but it's a denial that seems a little bit pointless at this stage.
Oh, I see. So he went into the naturalist, took a picture in the museum,
took a picture of a stuffed animal,
and then
actually
denied it. What a plank!
Yeah, I believe it was at the gate to the entry. It was kind of leaning against a tree trunk, and he obviously took a ppicture of it and passed it off as an in-action shot. So there we go. Round 3 was name the year. In which year was a 35mm SLR introduced that featured an autofocus system? Who are we going to go for here? Marcus, let's go for you first.
Okay, so I was saying I think I know who did it. I think it was Minolta, but anyway, that's not part of the question. I've just a guess, Ruth. I've gone 1972, just because that's when James. That's when James was born.
I was thinking, is it before or after Ruth, not before or after me?
Yeah. So go on then.
Really?
Yeah, go on then.
I've gone 90. Well,
don't change
1985. No, I haven't. 1985. That's what I'm showing you because we're so far apart. It can't be 19.
Okay, so I would have gone early 80s, but then judging by previous experience, I always go too late. So I've knocked a few years.
Well, so you've knocked a decade off.
Well, no, a few years off of it. Yeah.
Okay, so neither of you were correct, but the closest was James.
Oh no!
It was 1981.
Well, it can't be 1972. 1981 was it?
1981. It was the Pentax. So wrong again on Minolta. It was the Pentax MEF, introduced in 81, considered the first autofocus 35mm SLR. It used focus detection in the camera body, but required a special motorised zoom lens for it to work. So 1981.
You see, I would have, if I'd just gone with my initial
you would have got
verdict without knocking anything off, I would have got that point. That's going to swing everything. That was the pivotal moment in this quiz.
It is very possible. Yeah. Okay, right. Well, moving into round 4, AI. Which location had I asked it to talk about? Marcus was sure straight away. James reckoned he got it on the last one. So, James, what do you reckon it was?
I'm pretty sure it's Death Valley, because people went in mining and died. There's a bit of a clue.
Okay.
I think that's what it said, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, I put Death Valley but before that bit came up, because we were talking about sand dunes and repeating patterns and mountains, and that's where they all exist in the same place.
Okay, you are both right, and I like the way Marcus is like, I got it before you did, just to,
yeah, so I get the
so
point,
you know.
surely.
You both get the point on that one. So there we go. At the moment, James is pulling ahead, but you never know. This is the last question. So take a wild guess. I asked you how much this Californian painter and decorator paid for a box of 65 undeveloped negatives, potentially worth £200 million from Ansel Adams. What do you reckon? So let's go for, who wants to go first?
Well, James has got to go first, because I've been
James?
first. Yeah.
Okay, fine, James.
I've made a tactical error here, because it's nearest to the pin, isn't it, basically?
It is nearest, yes.
Yeah, so I've made a tactical error, but I've written down $1 and I will stick with it. I've actually technically written down £1, but anyway.
Okay.
That's $1.30 then. I've gone $20, Ruth.
Okay. So... closest, because someone has to be closest.
If she says 50 cents.
No, I know what. Go on.
$45.
Perfect.
So Marcus is closest.
Okay, no,
what did you say it was?
I said 20.
45. He said 20. You said 1. It was $45.
No, that's fair enough. I thought you were going to say $10, and then technically it was going to be closer to James, just because of the exchange rate.
I could have seen you arguing that one through.
Well, I would have just taken my headphones on and off and gone and done the washing up.
Gone and found a hammer and an old camera. Yeah. Okay. Well, no, it was $45. The authenticity of the prints was in fact later disputed. The Ansel Adams Trust again denying his authorship, but that was the case at the time. $200 million. It was properly authenticated at. So a bit of a bargain. I don't know if he's actually made any money yet from it. There's still very many years later an ongoing dispute about this.
The thing is, the key word there, Ruth, was potential, because something like that is only worth what someone's willing to pay for it.
Yes, I mean, had they been properly authenticated and it hadn't been pulled back, I think he would have probably sold them for a lot more than $45.
Yeah, I wonder what aspects point towards Ansel being the suspected photographer.
There is a lot of information online. I did do quite a lot of research on this, and various things, including the fact that lots of prints were lost or plates were lost from a studio fire he had back in the day. There was kind of some blackening on some of the stuff they had. The actual locations, the style, which apparently were not quite what Ansel's later work was, but the guy who bought them reckoned it could easily have been his earlier stuff. Various things like that. So the Ansel Adams Trust had some disputes about style, which this guy was countering, which seemed quite logical. Stuff about the numbering system the Ansel Adams Trust said was not the way he used it, and stuff like that. So anyway, it is really interesting, and I think he's still got the box of plates somewhere, and they're certainly taken in all the locations Ansel visited at the time.
He should sell them to James Danziger so that he can create some AI modern colour versions of them.
Yeah, just put some colour in it. They'd be worth a bit more then.
Anyway, there we go. That is the pop quiz. If you managed to score higher than... did we draw? We did draw. 4-4.
Yeah.
Well done, chaps. So that makes the current results 5-2 for James, and 22 on aggregate to 13 if we're doing it that way. So you never know.
No, it's never too late. It's never too late.
It's never too late.
We're only halfway through the year.
Yes, this is true. This is true. The second half of the year, all to play for. So if you did manage to score higher than the chaps, do let us know what score you got. Also, if you would like to submit any questions for any of these rounds, always very much appreciated. Do send them in. We've got an email address, podcast@mc2photography.com.
Listeners from an unlikely location.
Right, well, I found some people this month, I should say, listening last month from Kazakhstan. I don't think we've done Kazakhstan before. 5 people, in fact, listening in Kazakhstan, which is quite cool. So, Selim, I believe, is hello in Kazakh? I don't know what the language is, excuse me. But 5 people, you're very, very welcome. One person, I don't know why I felt the need to do this, but I was looking through Canada, because we don't mention Canada overly often. And one person listening in the state of Manitoba, over in Canada. So either of you guys, I know you've been to Canada, because I think we talked about this before, but have either of you been to Manitoba?
I haven't, no.
Nope.
No? How about Kazakhstan?
No.
We were on the border together of Kazakhstan once. In Russia.
Yes.
Yes. He says with such enthusiasm.
He doesn't remember.
There's a very nice picture of me in a blue jumper standing next to a motorcycle and you standing next to me. He has no recollection of that at all, do you?
No story.
That's amazing.
Usually when we do this and we mention that a country, Marcus is like, oh, I've got a story about that, but nothing for Kazakhstan. What's the nearest then? Russia?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in Russia. We were in Russia, on the southern border of Russia, yeah.
I don't think we have any Russian listeners. I'm pretty sure I was looking at that last month.
Funnily enough, Ruth, I'm not going to mention the name of the country because it would reveal the location for the King Joy quiz. But I purposely, we've never had a listener from this country. It's never showed up on our analytics. And so when I was there, I pressed play on the podcast and then went to sleep.
Did you?
So that my phone basically played it all the way through while I was sleeping. And I've checked the analytics today and it hasn't come up. So we might have a lot of listeners from places like Russia and this other place, which I can't name just yet.
Okay.
Right. And it's not showing up. So, you never know.
This is very true. You never quite trust the analytics. If you are listening from Russia, and at the end of the show we'll ask you about the other place as well, absolutely get in touch. Tell us about yourself. We always love finding out where people are listening from. Do leave a comment on whatever platform you're listening on. And thank you for your comments on last month's podcast. Grant Sullivan on Spotify saying, great podcast, but Ruth, did you get overwhelmed by your intro when you called it April's podcast? This is what I was mentioning earlier on. Yes, I did. So thank you, Grant, and everyone else that pointed that out to me. Julia got in touch via email. She said, just been listening to the May podcast and the card game we were talking about reminded me of a fun competition we have each year at the Camera Club where the previous winner chooses a local event and provides a list of 10 subjects. Competitors have a defined time slot in which to take 7 of the 10 subjects. Images must be straight out of the camera, no editing. The previous winner judges the anonymous images, with the winner having the dubious honour of organising the next event. And I like this. She said, needless to say, hot competition for second place.
That sounds like a photographic version of the Eurovision Song Contest.
I'm curious why you only need to get 7 out of the 10 photos and not just the 10 photos. To make it a little bit easier, I reckon. Anyway, all done without the aid of a pack of cards. Thank you, Julia. Gordon Johnston 684 commented, responding to your comment regarding radio triggers. This was from our news story last month, all about the rocket launch where the chap was using radio triggers, we assumed he was using radio triggers. And
yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he's talking about their reliability. Well, he says the basic Pocket Wizards brand radio triggers are amazing. I tested one on an open field, 400 meters. It was still firing. I mounted a flash on top of the camera so I could see the flash firing. I set up a relay, or if you set up a relay rather, you probably shoot hundreds of miles if you had enough triggers passing the signal from one flash to the other.
He is correct. I would admit that I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, he said he uses them in studios.
Brand. Yeah.
And they've never let him down.
There's a load under the cupboard under the stairs. I don't use them anymore because I don't have technical reasons to use them. I use a different system. But he is correct, and it is a great brand, and they do work very, very well. And the place you'll see them next, Ruth, is, well, there's the World Cup coming up, obviously the World Cup of football, and Wimbledon. And the photographers use them there. So a photographer will be at the side of the pitch with his long lens, and then often behind the goals, you see cameras set up on little mini tripods behind the goals or on the ground with a wide angle lens on, and they use Pocket Wizard to talk. That's what they use. So when he fires his camera, the other camera automatically fires. So you end up with a lot of blank shots, but you do end up, as the goals, someone's heading the ball in.
Imagine how much wasted film that would be, James.
Imagine that in the film days, yeah, I know. But in the film days, you'd have had an assistant sitting behind the goal.
No, I mean, Ruth, my kind of experience with radio triggers, doesn't matter what brand they are, is that once they're talking, the transmitter's talking to the receiver and it works, then it works. But what happens is you're on location and someone says, oh, let me set up my remote trigger, and 10 minutes later they're still sitting there going through the menu going, oh, why is it not working, hang on a minute, this is on the wrong channel, and you just lose the will to live, and you just think, why just plug in a physical one? It would have been done 10 minutes ago.
Or even better than that, Ruth, I was doing some portraits very recently within the last year or so in central London in an office building, a meeting room, and there was a fashion shoot going on outside on the street, totally coincidentally, nothing to do with me, and they were using the same brand of flash I was, which is Pro Photo, and their trigger were on the same channel I was. So my flash was going. I was thinking, what the heck is going on here? I was getting a bit sweaty, and then I looked out the window and I could see it. So I thought, aha, I can have, before changing channel to a different channel, I can have entertainment with yes, I did. For about 5 minutes, I was just, every time they fire it, I would fire mine. It was hilarious. It kept me entertained for about 5 minutes. And then I thought I'd leave the poor assistant who was looking at the back and changing channels, and I would then change channels and find the channel he was on.
Harsh.
I thought, well...
Harsh.
I know. It's only, maybe 5 minutes. I'll do myself. It's 30 seconds I entertained myself for.
Yes. Amused you anyway. I mean, I think it would make a really fun feature, the fact that this chap is saying, see how far you can actually get. You know, you could probably go miles with these and get a radio trigger.
Well, I tell you what, you could fire one on Sky and see if you could take my picture down here.
Hey.
In Devon.
Or like top of one of the mountains from, you know, bottom of one of the mountains. Something like that. It would be a fun challenge, I reckon, maybe for next year's show. Anyway, we do always appreciate your feedback. Do keep it coming. Comment or email, as I said, that address, podcast@mt2photography.com. All right, well, let's move on and have a wee look at some stuff.
It may be new. It may even be exciting. But does the world really need it?
Right, before we delve in properly, chaps, I've had a lot of moaning and complaining and all the rest of it from you two over a short period of time, shall we say, but ever since you both moved into mirrorless kind of side of things and started looking at lens caps.
Hang on, I haven't moved into mirrorless.
You've got a mirrorless camera.
I didn't move. I was dragged kicking and screaming.
He has a mirrorless house.
All right, well, yes, James, if only that were true. In fact, yeah, it's very awkward in the bathroom when we're about to do the live show. No mirrors anywhere. I have to look in the back of the shiny chrome shower handle.
For those that don't know, Marcus basically lives in a house which is basically, I mean, it's like an old abandoned camera shop with an old abandoned darkroom off the side of the bathroom.
Yes. Anyway, to the point, let's say James then. I think I was out in Venice with James and he just bought his mirrorless camera and there was a lot of whining noises coming out of him about the brand new lens cap, which for whatever reason has been winding everybody up. They've fixed that apparently. They've just released a new, what they're calling, I don't know if they're calling it, a new less annoying lens cap, which is already sold out. Have either of you had a look at this?
I can't remember whether I mentioned it here or on our live show. But it's so infuriating. So basically, Ruth, the Canon RF system, the back caps, so that go on the lenses, or the body cap that goes on, clearly on the body of the camera, on the RF Canon system, it has to be aligned. So you obviously have a little dot where you put a lens on and you align those. Well, they've introduced that to the caps as well. Whereas before, you could put them on in any orientation and they would fit. But Canon, in their infinite wisdom, and morons in their marketing department or whatever, or maybe not, maybe geniuses, as we'll come on to, decided that you have to align these things perfectly now. So you can't just grab a back cap or a body cap or whatever and throw it on. You had to align it. You had to find the mark on your back cap or body cap, align it with the mark on the camera or the lens, and then it would fit. But the marking on the body cap or the lens cap was black on a black body cap. And it was barely even raised, so you could barely even feel it with your finger. So it was almost impossible to put them on, even, you know, especially if it's slightly dark or you haven't got your glasses on or whatever, because I don't wear my glasses when I take pictures. I have the diopter turned up to maximum and then I've got some chance of seeing, which means I definitely can't see the body cap to line it up. It was the most daft, stupid decision ever made by Canon. Or was it an act of genius? Because they've now brought out the dust cap Mark II.
Hey.
Yay, there we go. And this will fit on in any orientation, I believe. And basically they've taken two tiny little sort of spigots of plastic off the back of it, which people had been hacking and doing anyway by, you know, just getting a screwdriver and knocking it off the back of their own previous lens caps. Now you don't have to do that. Now you can buy the Mark II dust caps at great expense. They've immediately sold out. Unbelievable. And Canon's made a boatload of money probably out of this. I mean, honestly. So it's either sheer stupidity or an act of total genius, which pretty much sums up Marcus, really.
That's something to brag about down at the local camera club, isn't it? Next time you go down, it's like, hey, everybody, look at my new back caps.
Mark II.
Yeah.
So the question is, James, have you invested in the Mark II?
No, I'd like to struggle and swear. Struggle and swear about Canon.
All right, okay. Well, do you know what? That may be a cheaper birthday option for you. I'll have a wee look. They were sold out, so if you do end up getting one, just know the effort that went into it. But anyway, that was just a wee mini thing to put at the front end of our gear section. Does the world really need it? However, first major item, Marcus. Tell us about it. I'm not even going to introduce this because this is fascinating.
This, Ruth, is the Viper Pod. It's a hybrid tripod system that hangs anywhere. Now, obviously, we're sponsored by King Joy, so we could be accused of being biased here towards competing tripod companies. But I'm going to do this one as honestly as I would do had we been not sponsored by King Joy. Now, they claim that this is the first full tripod with a built-in hanging hook, which allows creators to mount their camera on railings, doors, branches, and other structures that were never meant for tripods, James. You know, all those...
Oh, I'm listening carefully.
Yeah, now...
Things that were never meant for tripods.
I urge you to go and look at the link that will be in the show notes, because this is quite a visual thing. But looking at the examples which they show where their tripod in new possibilities, there isn't a single one which a normal decent tripod wouldn't be able to achieve, or that isn't ridiculous in its suggestion. So let's just go through a few. So they have a video, obviously. It's lots of dramatic music. That's always the alarm bell ringer for me.
Oh, I tell you what, I'm scrolling, Marcus, and there's some Jeopardy going on here.
Yes, right. But as soon as you watch a video and it's like dun 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 dun, and it's completely over dramatic, that's when I kind of alarm bells start ringing. And I think, okay, this is not a good product because they're trying to compensate it for it by putting powerful music on. But anyway,
you mean like we do at the beginning of our own podcast?
Yeah, but that's building up to better things to come. So the video shows a hooded man using a tripod in a traditional way from a balcony. Everything looks fine.
Hooded man, you are so funny.
Everything looks fine so far. Then it shows him using this new Viper Pod to position the camera in a far less desirable place so that he now has the tripod leg and the railing in his shot. Okay, so why you would want to do that is beyond me. Second example. Photographer is on the waterfront at the Bund in Shanghai, where there is one of the widest pavements in the world. It has to be 30 metres wide, okay? You could play football there and not have to reduce the size of the pitch. But clearly not seeing this massive pavement, he thinks it's necessary to mount his camera on the railings, which are not going to be as sturdy as the pavement. It achieves nothing in terms of your composition. But now he has one of the tripod legs sticking up in front of his camera, preventing him from doing any wide-angle shots. So completely and utterly pointless. Then there's the comparison between a panning shot using this new Viper tripod, which has a kind of like a novel center column which comes out the side, and he's basically using the center column as you would the handle of a video tripod to kind of like smoothly pan the camera around, and that's quite good. But the example they use for the normal tripod, I mean, the guy, is he cold and he's like shaking because he's so cold or something? Because there's no way that you would get a panning shot on a camera that wobbly. You know, when you're trying to demonstrate something and the one that you're not trying to be favourable, you purposely do it badly. This is very obvious that they've made the camera wobble as much as possible. So, comparison to get the tripod down low is ridiculous. The King Joy C83S, which I was using, the last couple of weeks, you can unclip the centre column from that in less than 5 seconds and have it on the floor. So, it's there's nothing new about this tripod other than the way that the centre column is external from outside the legs rather than inside the legs. But I don't see how that really offers any benefit, because once you change the angle of it, the camera is then off centre. It's off the tripod and it becomes less stable. So by doing that, yes, you're gaining in some areas, but you're losing in other areas. So there's nothing particularly new about this.
Well, the simple way to sum up tripods is you want a good brand. So clearly we recommend King Joy, but that's the key. And that's good leg sections, and the tripod should be simple and you should use it simply. That's the key to any form of support for your camera, which is why a beanbag is as good as anything if you're on the ground. So simple, and good quality legs. And this camera, this tripod might have good quality legs, but it is definitely not simple.
No.
And when you, as Marcus was saying, when you look at the examples, I mean, oh my word, there's one on a rock, there's one hanging on a tree. I mean, honestly.
Why would you want to take a photo from up a tree? I mean, it's just...
Well, not only that, I mean, you'd need your blood pressure medication to dangle your camera like that, wouldn't you? It's just, it's so silly, but it's quite amusing.
Have you seen the one where they've mounted it to a car door as well?
Yes, I have, yes.
It's like, did they not realise that a car has suspension and that there's 0 point in using a tripod mounted to a car door like that? Because it's...
Or you could be really comfortable and sit in the car and hold the camera in that exact position.
Yes, without the tripod, exactly. Or just use a beanbag and rest it on the bottom of the window. It's honestly so ridiculous. But anyway, if you are interested, this is a Kickstarter campaign. 2 models are available. The Viper Pod and the Viper Pod Lite, which will cost you $329 and $299 respectively. So not a lot of difference between those two prices. Or if you have that common problem of having way too much money in your bank and you just need to find a way of getting rid of it, you can get the bundle, James, which will give you both tripods for the bargain price of $599. And it ships from September. So if you get your order in now, you could have this in just 2 or 3 months.
Until then, I will make do with a beanbag and a set of King Joy legs.
All right, well, I forgot to do this last month, mostly. So hit, miss or fail, what do we reckon? I keep saying that. Hit, fail, or almost.
Might be a fail, that one. Yeah.
No. It's not even anywhere near. It's a fail.
It's a fail.
Totally ridiculous.
There we go. All right, that's a fail. So that is the tripod that doesn't need the ground, apparently. Moving on to something equally fascinating sounding. Not often you hear the word robo-photographer.
I've been described as that, though, before.
Yeah, only because your pictures are very robotic in nature.
James, I mean, explain.
So it's another camera support system that doesn't require the ground.
Wow.
Interestingly, you can look at it like that because that's pretty much what it is. So this is about turning yourself into a robo photographer. So having all your camera equipment mounted on your person. The previous feature was about slightly dubious set of tripod legs mounting on, railings or car doors, whatever. This is about having all your kit mounted upon yourself, and specifically. It's a bit of a publicity stunt, but it's quite well done by DJI, the people that are famous for making drones and gimbals and that sort of thing. And what they've done is they've got a very handsome chap. I was wondering why I didn't get the call, actually, Ruth.
Maybe you don't have a pair of sunglasses like this guy's got on.
He's got a cool pair of sunglasses. Well, I was going to come on to the sunglasses, actually. Why is he you'd struggle to actually wear those sunglasses and operate the equipment? But anyway, he does look cool. So basically, if you think back to the good old days of RoboCop wearing sort of like a modern day suit of armour, as it were. So a chest or a vest pad, shoulder pads, the sort of things I think there are specifically American football pads.
Yeah.
So for those that listen in the UK, American football's like rugby light, basically rugby for girls. So, why are you giving me that look? You're a proud Scottish woman. You're doing very well at rugby at the moment, unfortunately. So you wear this suit of armour. So you've got your shoulder pads, you've got your chest which supports it, and then the braces go all the way down to your legs. So it's a bit like a Steadicam system that you see the operators using, running on and off the football pitches and that sort of thing. And then on one shoulder, this chap has got mounted a specific DJI gimbal, but with a sort of an 8K cine camera or some hugely powerful cine camera on one shoulder. And then on the other, he's got a Steadicam arm which is braced to his vest. And on that, he's got mounted a 1200mm lens, Ruth. Now, I think they've missed a trick here. They should have put on that a 2x converter. They really should have done. But if you think that tripod we were talking about a few minutes ago, around about, what was it, $300 or something was expensive, that Kickstarter? Would you like to know, Ruth, how much this all costs?
Are you talking about the gear that he's got on, so including the lens and the cameras and everything?
Yes. If you'd like to put together this rig yourself, be prepared to pay a pretty penny. The gear on the right shoulder alone costs 10 grand, and the lens alone on the front-mounted camera. So that's the RF2 1200, which I think, as I said, they should have put it 2 times converter. No, so DJI have just done this. It's more of a publicity stunt than anything else.
Okay.
So that lens is $22,000. Yep. So that's about £20,000 at the time of recording. Yeah. Who knows? The shoulder pads, that the American footballers wear, because they're not tough enough to play rugby.
All right,
they're $1,800.
Yeah,
Yeah. So the whole thing costs about $50,000. But
and
the sunglasses alone would be another $100, $200.
Let me just cancel my Kickstarter for the Viper Pod, because then I could probably afford this.
Yes.
But the thing is, if you're already in the US and you're a football player, then just grab your old pad, get a screwdriver and a couple of screws, and you're halfway there.
Bolt a gimbal to your right shoulder and a Steadicam to the vest and to your leg on the left side, and you're good to go. I
like the fact that the video says the setup that needs no explanation. And yet it definitely requires at least 5 minutes of talking through what it is. Marcus, what do you think to this?
I think, like James said, it's only a publicity stunt. So no, I don't think anyone's realistically going to walk around like that, are they?
It's like the giant version of the cotton carrier, the chest-mounted one, which is genuinely useful. But
if you walk around like that in an urban environment, you're going to get mugged. And if you walk around like that in a rural environment, you're going to get very tired and think, what's the point? So,
All right, so this is a hit, fail, or an almost. We're going for the fail again.
No. I think it's a hit.
No? Oh, you want a hit?
A bit of fun. We've got to have thank you.
Okay.
Why
we might have to go for the almost. Yeah. So basically we can't decide on this, but it is fascinating. You have got to have a wee look at the video on here. And I just realised when you guys were talking, I have, ever since the beginning, been calling this DJI. And I've just realised it's not a G, it's a J. So it's DJI, which does not trip off the tongue. Do you guys see DJI?
Yeah, we always say DJI. And I just thought it was your weird Scottish accent, Ruth.
No.
So I never picked up on it.
I've just twigged just now. I've been calling it DJI.
It's CGI, and DJI.
I get that.
I wonder how many other things that we just put down to you having a weird Scottish accent you're actually getting wrong. There's probably quite a list.
Well, you can start taking notes from next time. Anyway, that is the DJI. Does it have a name? Does it have a name?
The Ronin 4.
The Ronin 4, also known as the Robo-Photographer. All right, well, moving on to something a little bit more serious, and this is getting lots of acclaim, shall we say, across the photographer's world. What is this, Marcus?
Yeah, so this is the new release from Sony. It's the A7R6. And I'm going to go through a few specs now because obviously they've improved on the previous versions. So, James, it's got a 66.8 megapixel new stacked sensor.
Wow.
Interested?
Not particularly, but carry on.
Okay. 30 frames per second burst.
That's a lot of backup storage you're going to require there, aren't you?
Yeah. It has pre-capture to aid untalented photographers.
Yeah, that's just about, you've nicked my line.
Yeah. It has an updated autofocus, which is AI powered, meaning it will focus where you don't want it to. It's got 16 stops of dynamic range. That's up from 15. So they've improved that very slightly. It has pixel shift technology, turning it into a whopping 265.8 megapixel camera. But in order to do that, you do need Sony's own editing software to read those files because they're raw files, but they're kind of merged within the camera. And then that file needs Sony's software to read it. Mm-hmm. It has 8.5 stops of in-body stabilization, up from 8 stops on the previous model, so only half a stop more. It's not a Kickstarter, and it ships from early June, which is now. The price, if you're interested in any of that, costs $4,499 which I was going to say is about £4,000.
Exactly the same.
But my going on past experience, I reckon it will be £4,500 as well, because we do seem to pay more for
we do. They end up being the same,
here.
Don't they, roughly?
Yeah, So if you go to the States and you want to buy this camera, then buy it. But obviously, when you come back into the country,
put it in your underpants.
No, do not go through the nothing to declare thing. You have to go through the items to declare and say, excuse me, Mr. Officer, I bought this camera in the US. I would like to give the government £800, please. Please let me know how I can do that.
So when I've been through with my underpants bulging, I've been wrong.
Have you ever seen anyone in those little areas in the airport?
No.
Every time I walk past it, there's nobody in there. As in, no officers or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, they have to put it there, obviously, because they have to give you an option to declare stuff. So if they didn't put it there, you go, well, where was I supposed to go?
The last time I got stopped, funnily enough, was in an African, I shan't name it, but a nameless African country. And they went through my camera bag, which is fine, and looked at the security people, and then the customs people came over and said, you're exporting this, you've bought it in this country. And I went, there's not one single camera shop in this country. How can I possibly have bought it in this country? So.
Ruth, once we've revealed my location for the King Joy thing, I'll tell you a story about the airport security in that country, because it's quite interesting.
Okay. But I mean, this is getting a lot of rave reviews, this camera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously, if you're a Sony, shooter, then this is the latest, all singing, all dancing camera. It's got some useful updates on what you probably already have, but they're not massive updates from what I can tell. So I wouldn't say that it's worth upgrading from your current camera to this camera unless you've got, money to spend. But if you want to get into the Sony system or upgrade from a very old model, then this is probably going to be.
Or indeed, if you're coming into the mirrorless world.
Yes, I mean it's a very good camera for a beginner.
Did you say it's a very good camera for a beginner?
No. I meant it's.
As an intro to mirrorless.
It would be a very, very expensive, very good camera for a beginner. Meaning, it's a bit
too expensive
extreme,
for a beginner.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, I understand. But anyway, like I said, it is getting rave reviews all across the internet. Do we reckon yes, no, maybe? I reckon it's a yes.
It has to be a yes.
Personally, I can't deny that it's a yes. But personally, I've got more interest in the contents of my handkerchief last time I blew my nose.
Yes, but Marcus, you're an anomaly, as we all know, for the rest of the world and people that actually appreciate things like this. So, I mean, if I ever went over to mirrorless, which, my camera's got funny bits happening to it, half tempted to go to the Sony system. I probably wouldn't because there's too much other things to change, but they do a decent camera, and that is getting a lot of applause around the photography world. But anyway, our final item is definitely more down Marcus's street, which is why we've given it to James. What's with us, James?
We're going to talk about Kodak, and we're going to talk about film. And Kodak have announced, Ruth, it is time to go big.
Ooh. Go big or go home, I say.
Well, yeah, so this, as Ruth has alluded to, this is all about Kodak producing film, basically, which is why Marcus is champing at the bit. And it's actually got me a little bit more interested in analogue photography anyway. Not that I was never not interested in it, but I'm only interested in medium and large format. So there's some complicated legally stuff to do with films and Kodak going bust in 2012, I think it was.
Oh, you remember? This was a quiz question, James.
I've only remembered because I've got it on my notes, actually. I was putting in the pause for dramatic effect. So some of the names have changed and all of that. But basically, what Kodak are doing is they're following on from the success of their 35mm sort of offerings, and they have launched Kodak Ectopan 100 and 400 in 4x5 and 100-foot rolls, Marcus. So we'll come on to self-loading in a minute. I'll ask you about that. Ectocolor Pro in 160 and 400 in 4x5 and 8x10 sheets. Ectopan in 100 and 400 4x5 sheets. Triax in 320 in 4.5, 5.7 and 10.8 as well.
Yeah.
And Tri-X at 400, which is probably the greatest film ever made, in 100-foot rolls. So some of those names...
That's something that...
Just to be clear, some of those names have changed. So for those analogue people, Porter is now Ectocolor and T-Max is now Ectopan, just to be clear.
So, James, what is new about this? I mean, have they done large format film before? Are they bringing it back? Did another company do it for them? What's the actual newsworthiness of this?
Basically, this stuff has not been available for a very long time. So it's new.
Okay.
So Marcus might be able to answer the question whether it was available under different legal names. I don't think it's been available for a very long time, most of this stuff. So the legal names, forget about that stuff. Just go and find what they're actually producing. Because, as I said, in 2012, Kodak, to save bankruptcy, had to turn one company into another. And now they're going back to the original film production company names, basically. So, but, I don't shoot any analogue at all other than for a little bit of pleasure here and there. But the very fact that these things are being produced is a very good thing, because it means that, as my view on analog photography is, it's the truest form of photography, because it makes you stop, makes you think, makes you slow down. Unlike that previous Sony, where you've got pre-capture of 30 frames a second. So any old muppet can get a picture of a barn owl flying, basically. Try doing it on a roll of any of these Tri-X 400 or something. That would be a proper photograph. So it's getting back to the good old days, and Kodak is clearly thriving or surviving and thriving, and that's great to know. The sheet film, I'm amazed that they're doing that. The 100-foot rolls that you can load your own film canisters, I'm not surprised they're doing that. But I am amazed about the sheet film. I don't know what your thoughts are, Marcus, on you must be delighted overall.
Well, it's good news, because the more film the more formats of film that are released, it just shows what a healthy state the film industry is in, because Ilford have been releasing new formats.
Yep.
Recently as well. So they've just released their Pan F in sheet film format, and then the fact that Kodak are doing it as well, it just shows that there's not only interest but demand in all these areas. So it's great to have more options. One thing that you mentioned back there, which I was going to touch on, is that you said that Tri-X 320 was available in sheet film, and in 400, Tri-X 400 is available in bulk rolls. Now, I know you're not going to know the answer to this, but someone listening may know the answer. Tri-X, when it's in medium format,
is a different
and
speed.
35mm is 400, but when it's in sheet film, it's 320 ISO, but it's the same film. So how the hell does that work?
Did you know it's always been like that?
Yeah, it's always been like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. So even back in, what are we talking, 30 years ago, when I was using those films?
Yes.
I never comprehended like that, but we would always shoot. I'm trying to think what we did. Shot 4.5 and 5.7. I don't think I ever shot 8.10 in it.
The only thing I can think of is that the base, the base that they use for the large format film is thicker, because it doesn't have to go round a roll.
Stop it, wobbling, as it were.
And so less light will pass through it, and so they've basically downgraded. But
we used to process it as 400 anyway.
Yeah, it's just
back in the days.
One of those questions I've never known the answer to. But anyway, the long and short of it is I think that it's great to have more options on film, and like I said, it just shows that the industry is very healthy. And anyone that says film is dead, you're wrong.
So where do you think? Oh.
Look at that.
Ooh,
she's gone
premature.
Very
I'm
early
assuming
there.
James is going to be agreeing. Sorry, James, carry on. Did I cut you off?
No, I was purely going to ask, because this is it's a little like Kodak jumping on board here, forgetting about all of their, bankruptcy problems and things in the past. But Kodak producing these things, Ilford producing these things, is where we're at, because, analog's risen over the last 5 years, maybe 10 years, but certainly excelled over the last 5 years and accelerated greatly over the last couple of years. Are we at the pinnacle now? Will we see a levelling off? Will we see a decline? Will we see a continuation in interest and production of products related to analogue photography? What do you reckon?
I don't think we've reached the pinnacle. I think that there's a nostalgia for all things old. So that's what, look at vinyl, for example. Vinyl's come back.
Yep.
Big time. People are buying turntables again. And I was having a conversation with the manager of our local camera shop up here in Scotland. And he was saying that 87% of their business is now film photography.
Seriously?
87%
wow.
of their business is film photography.
Is that kind of second-hand film stuff?
Yes, yeah, most of it's second-hand, yeah. But that just shows how huge it is. And, and it's hardly surprising when we've just looked at that A7R6 and you look at the upgrades, and they're kind of like splitting hairs with the difference between that and previous models. 8.5 stops of IBIS instead of 8. Does it make any difference? No. So the innovations that are coming out of the digital world are far less impressive than they were 20 years ago, when each camera model would be a reasonable step up in performance, whereas now it's just a case of buying a new camera for the sake of buying a new camera.
So we've reached the pinnacle of digital, perhaps, as opposed to analog.
Everyone seems to be struggling to reach those kind of like major improvements in future models. So,
all right, well, you guys can check out the links to all of the gear stuff that we've been talking about in the show notes, whatever platform you're tuning in on.
The the Photography Online podcast, in partnership with Kingjoy Tripods.
All right, well, earlier on in the show, we heard from Marcus. He was out using his Kingjoy C83S travel tripod somewhere in the world. Now, he dropped a few clues for you to work out where he was, but we can now reveal the answer, although I think James and I have potentially already worked this one out. Let's have a listen.
Hello again, Ruth. Now, I couldn't give too many clues away earlier, as this place is simply too iconic. I told you I was on a very well-known man-made structure, which took over 2,000 years to construct, and that I needed to hike up to. The two big clues that I mentioned were that there was always a wall in my foreground, and that the photo I took was great. If you take the words wall and great and reverse the order of them, then you'll get where I am. It is, of course, the Great Wall of China. It's amazing that I have this place all to myself. Maybe the locals don't know about it. Right, I'm going to keep exploring now, so I'll catch you later.
Or did you get that one then, James?
Well, it was either that or his own personal garden, because I think his partner's waiting 2,000 years for him to finish that. So.
Well, if you want to see the... Oh, on you go, Marcus. Yeah, you had a story, yes.
No, so I had a story about... So I'm flying through a Chinese airport a couple of weeks ago and going through security, and my bag gets sidelined. Okay, because you know when you go through security now, so many different airports they have different rules. So sometimes they say take your laptops out, sometimes they say no, leave your laptops in, sometimes it's shoes off, sometimes you keep your shoes on. And you just don't know where you are. So I just left everything in the bag and put it through. And it went through and it got sidelined. And the guy picks it up and takes it over to a screen. And he said, "Is this your bag?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "If you've got 2 cameras inside." And I said, No, I've only got 1 camera. And he said, "Oh," he said, "No, I'm seeing 2 cameras." And I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "You've got a 5DSR, Canon 5DSR, and a DJI Osmo Pocket 3. And I was thinking, how the hell do you know that? And on his screen, it shows you exactly what I've got in my bag, including the models.
Wow.
Yeah.
AI?
Absolutely.
Obviously AI.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Absolutely.
Isn't that cool?
So I wasn't considering the DJI Pocket 3 as a camera, because you wouldn't. It's just a little thing. So he said, "No, you got to take the cameras out." And he said, "I can see you've also got a battery for the 5DSR in there." And he said, and the AI didn't pick up on the headphones, but I've got these noise cancelling headphones. And he said, "You've also got something else in there with a battery in it." And so I had to take the headphones out. But it's just amazing that they can look and it tells you what model number the cameras are.
Be very careful what you go through security with.
The technology over there is unbelievable. But anyway, another funny story was, as we were checking in, my colleague Rainey requested emergency aisle seats so that I could have a bit more legroom. And the guy didn't speak any English, right, behind the thing. So he's talking to Rainey, who's translating. And he said, "Yeah, you can sit there, but you need to be able to perform the emergency procedure in case of an accident." So he said, "Just so that I can be aware that your companion here can speak English, he needs to be able to read this." And he passed me this bit of paper, okay, which was black text on a dark blue background, right? And it was in really dim light. And Rainey said, "Oh, you just got to read that to him." And I said, "Why?" And she said, "Because he wants to. You've got to prove to him that you can speak English. And therefore you can understand the instructions on the instruction card, you see." And I'm looking at it and I just can't read it. And I said, "Rainey, is this an eye test or is it an English test? Because if it's an English test, I can read something else." And she said, "No, it's an English test." And I said, "Right, give me something else to read," because I just couldn't do it. And just trying to read.
You have been in denial about using glasses for quite a while, which doesn't help.
No, honestly, James, black text on a dark blue background. There was hardly any contrast. It was dimly lit. And and I'm trying to focus on it, and it got all the pressure because like everyone's sort of like leaning in, listening to how good my English is, and I'm thinking I don't need to prove my English here, but I'm struggling with my eyesight. So.
Amazing. Well, if you want to see the photo that Marcus managed to take on the Great Wall, do check out the link in the show notes. You'll be able to find the links in there, of course, as well, to all the news stories we've done today, all the gear items as well. We will be hearing from another team member on location with their tripod next month. In fact, Marcus, talking about next month on our main YouTube show, can we expect to see any Chinese adventures, or is that a little bit later on?
I think you'll find it's already out, Ruth, by the time this podcast goes out.
Amazing, fantastic. Well, check that out on the usual channel on YouTube. Search for Photography Online. We will be back next month as usual, but until then, take good care, and most of all, take good photos.
You've been listening to the Photography Online podcast in partnership with Kingjoy Tripods.